welcome back to Shelabobby Handmade. My name is Caitlin, known just about everywhere on the internet as Shelabobby, and this is my podcast where we talk about knitting, crochet, yarn, acquisitions, a little bit of cross stitch, whatever floats my boat this week. Today I have the typical finished objects and works in progress, and do have some acquisitions from the North Carolina Fiber Fair. So we'll get into that near the end, but first up is finished objects. So I have two this week, to this episode. I record every 2 weeks, but anyway, to this episode. Last episode I didn't have any, so I'm excited to show you a few things that I have finished. One of these is a little damp because it is still drying. It was on the blocker, but I'm going to set the damper one down. This is the Bracken Rose Socks by Twinset and Pearl. My camera's like, no, don't want to focus on those today. There we go. This is the one that I had done on the last episode and had started on the second one, but wasn't very far. It took me quite a while to do these socks. And most of that is because I didn't enjoy the process of them. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. The pattern is written fabulously. It's a beautiful pattern. I just am a process knitter, and so I didn't enjoy the process. So it took me a little while to get motivated to finish these and make them, but in the end, they're beautiful. So here's a little close-up of the stitch pattern. So if I'm not mistaken, they are meant to represent this front panel. It's meant to represent rose petals, and then the back of the leg has a different texture to the front of the leg, but a very beautiful lace pattern. So again, I do have the second one here, but it's still damp because I blocked it yesterday and it's just been sitting in front of the air vent to try and get it to block. But yes, so both are done. The yarn used for this is the Long Dog Yarn of Enchantment Luminaria, I think is how you say it. It is the December colorway. I had the Yarn of Enchantment monthly subscription and got all 12 months, and this was the last month of December. So got this one, all of the, if you're new here, all of the Yarn of Enchantment socks that I got, or sock sets that I got, I am making or made socks for my sister in a textured pattern. This is one to make socks for my sister, who is very knit-worthy, loves her socks. So for Christmas, I gave her all the ones that I completed in the year so far, and I have a bag in my little cubby right there for her for either her birthday or Christmas as they come up, or just, you know, you need a sock because we're having a hard time kind of gift. But yeah, so I am saving these up and giving them to her. I need to stop. I need to calm down a little. Just bring it in. I am collecting them to be able to give them to her all at once or in a grouping or some sort. So I am actually working on the last sock set that I have from Long Dog Yarn, which is actually the October colorway. You'll see that in Works in Progress. But once I finish that, then I'm going to move into my Yarnaceous Fibers collection, which is a Taylor Swift that I'm getting this year in her fingering light base. And I'll continue with the same thing, a textured pattern of some sort, either lace or just general texture. But that's what's coming up. Okay, so back to this sock. I started this, let me see my notes here. I started this on February 18th and finished them on March 15th. Keep in mind that I was very much into my blankets, and so socks kind of took the wayside. And then of course, because I wasn't having fun with the process, that was part of it as well. Again, these are for my sister. These are the size 1, which I believe is the 64 stitch count in the pattern. I made these on US 1's Magic Loop. US 1 is 2.25 millimeters. And yeah, written to pattern except the toe. I always change the toe to just the basic toe. I don't know any other toe. So I just replaced that with mine, and I think everything else was to pattern. So yeah, that's the last look at those. The next finished object that I have is also socks. These are the Lagoon socks for my Uncle Phil. They are now complete. So I think last time I only had like the cuff of one, or was on the gusset decreases of one. So blew through the second sock as usual pretty quick. But these are done on US 1.5s, which is 2.5 millimeters, and 72 stitches. I just use my vanilla recipe to make socks. And again, these are for my uncle. The yarn is Crow and Crescent Yarn Co. On her Europa sock base. I don't know if it is still available. This was pretty deep stash. And this colorway was called Lagoon Nebula. These are socks that do have cashmere in them, and it was a contrast between the sparkle sock. I think I forgot to mention this was on sparkle sock, but from the sparkle base of this yarn, which kind of makes it a little bit more of a rougher texture, to the cashmere in this one. It was a great contrast to work between those. So the Lagoon socks, I started on February 18th, so the same date as the other ones, and I finished them on March 22nd, so yesterday for me. I think those were all the details, but those are complete, done, and those are all the finished objects that I have. Okie dokie. So, did I say those were whips? Or did I say those were finished objects? Those are finished objects, obviously. So now we'll move into whips. I'm sorry, my brain today is just a little bit scattered, trying to hold it together and have cohesive thoughts as we're recording. So I apologize if I'm a little funky today. All right, so as usual, I'm going to go through my blankets. I feel like I'm showing you guys the same things over and over again, but I don't know. I feel like because I'm using so many colors in these blankets, it's okay to show every episode. If you have a preference on it, just let me know. But the blankets are my main work lately, just because I've been enjoying them, so it makes sense to show you guys. Anyway, we'll show you the Granny Stripes blanket, which is a blanket for my mom, which will be done for her birthday in May. I have gotten quite a bit done on it, so I'm now keeping it in this little roll inside the bag. It fits perfectly height-wise to do it this way, and so I just keep rolling it to keep the length. But I've gotten quite a bit done. Let's see if I can find our marker. So this is the Granny Stripes blanket by Lucy of Attic 24. The pattern is written for DK, but I just am using fingering weight. I have sewed in all of my ends, so if you are working on a project, stop and sew in all of your ends. You'll thank yourself later. There where that bunny marker is where I was on the last episode, and I think I should have 15 stripes. I did do 2 stripes yesterday, and I haven't done today's yet. So I'm just using scraps to make a blanket for my mom, and I think it'll be 54 by 56 in the end. So it's a pretty wide lap blanket, and yeah, just following the pattern as it is written, just using it in fingering weight rather than DK. So nothing more really to talk about this. It is something that I'm putting a stripe in a day, and that's been working since I cast it on, and will continue to do so, at least a stripe a day. Sometimes on the weekends I'll put in an extra stripe just to keep it up in case something happens and I can't do a stripe one day. But it should be done, I believe, May 3rd, and my mom's birthday is May 9th. So we are on task for that. I am moving the Progress Keeper up for next time. So this still needs the stripe for today, so I will leave this one out because I will actually work on that next. I was using my scraps from my scrap bin up there, but those are now out and I'm keeping them right there. And those are the last little tiny balls of scraps that I have, and then I'll have to dip into my bigger scrap balls. I'm going to leave this out so that I can work on that after. I can do that while I'm editing, and then find my hook in here just so that you know. I am using a 3-point, that is upside down, 3.25 or a D hook. And that is the same thing that I use for my other scrappy granny stripe blanket. All right. That is the granny stripes blanket. The anthology throw is in this one. So my anthology throw by Helen Stewart. I'm using my Ruby and Roses Advent from 2024. And I've gotten an okay amount of progress. I can't remember what color I'm on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm on the 5th color. I'm using them in order of the way they were opened in the Advent. So I'm not changing the order in any way for this one. So where that red mushroom marker is here, that is where I was last time. So I have added in about a color and a half. We are now almost at 20% of the blanket, but I am doing a little bit of a modification to this pattern where I am not changing the colors where it suggests in the pattern. I'm just using up my scrap completely. So my blanket will be a little bit bigger, and that's okay. But I am up to like 600 stitches, just under 600 stitches. So it takes quite a while to get all the way around. And I've just started the next yarn over section. So this like brown gold rainbow color is what I'm on now. So that's where I am on that. I'm gonna go ahead and move the marker on this one as well. Typically what I've been doing is I have been kind of focusing on one blanket a week, but the past 2 weeks I've kind of been working on my socks to get those done. So I've just kind of been working on these as I feel like it, since my sock motivation has come back a little bit. So yes, so I am almost done with this one. I'd say about halfway. Whoopsies, throwing it on the ground. And then the next color, I can find it in here. The next color will be this beautiful blue with little green specks on it. So that'll be fun to get some blue in there. Very different from the purples that we have been adding in there so far. All right. I think that's it for that one. I need to retrieve my mini. There we go. So that's just one that I've been working on. It's mostly just, you know, knitting, and then every few rounds you are doing like a yarn over eyelet row. So that one's pretty fun. I said that one was by Helen Stewart. The last blanket that I have is my Go-Go Throw by Amba O'Brien. Haven't done too much on this one. I am making modifications to this blanket. So where that dino is where you saw it last. Oopsies. And I'm about to add in the next color. I have changed the order of this. This is the A Homespun House from 2023 Advent. I have swapped out this one here was day 1, and this one was day 24. So I have swapped the 24 to be the first color just because it matches better, in my opinion, to day 1 than it does to day 23. So I have the next color wound up in here. So more of a fuchsia-y pink. We'll add that one in, and then I know it goes to purple on day 9. I think this one's day 8. So we're going to start getting into purples and less pinks. This is going to be a blanket for my sister. The modifications that I have done to this blanket is I have added a few more repeats of the chevron, and I have reduced the eyelets. So There's 2 eyelet rows in my blanket, and there's supposed to be 3. So I just reduced the row count for each color and added on, I think it's 3, to make it wider and less long. So that is really all for that blanket. The main color that it's called in the pattern is Nitpick Stroll Fingering. If it'll focus on it, there we go. Stroll Fingering in white. So that's the separator in between the colors. So not too much on that one this week. This one takes a little bit more of a thought process, so I can't just pick it up and knit a couple stitches. I kind of have to at least make sure I can do a row before moving on. So I'm going to move up my stitch marker so that it is ready for some work. All right, that's all for the blanket, so let's get into some socks. So in this one, I have my next pattern sock. This is using the last, excuse me, the last Long Dog Yarn of Enchantment yarn that I have in Balloon Fiesta, which is the October colorway. This sock is, I'm going to show you the yarn first if I can get it out of this little bag. Here's the colors in the cake/ball. And then the pattern that I'm doing is Roro and Cade's Dusting of Frost socks. And this is her, she's doing a Frosty Toes Mal. So Frosty Toes? No, Cozy Toes Mal that she's doing with her community. And so I've been participating in that, where every 2 months she does a pattern and you knit it in that 2 months. So just a small start on this. I've done one pattern repeat of the lace, but this is currently the front of the sock. And then I think it's pretty cool. On the back of the sock, it is pulling like little balloons in the sky. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, so this is all I've gotten so far on this one. For that needs to be done by the end of April. So plenty of time to work on that one, and just have to read the pattern a little bit. I did have to restart it after I initially started it because I got mixed up on row 6, and so I had to rip back and start it back over on the lace panel just because it was not working out. But I understood my mistake. I just misread the pattern. So that's it. But very fun pattern. Really enjoying it so far, even though I haven't gotten too far in there. But looking forward to having those socks made up for my sister. So the last sock that I have is my vanilla sock. I kind of do one pattern sock, one vanilla sock. And I'm using some more deep stash that I have. So this is Boss Kitty Yarns in the Forest Park colorway. Here it is in the cake. That's pretty color accurate. It's a little bit more deep than is showing there, but pretty close. And these are socks for my friend Mish. I promised him some socks this year, so I am getting started on them. So I don't have too much on there, just the cuff and a little bit of the leg. I'm doing these on US 1.5s, which is 2.5 millimeters, 72 stitches because it is for a male friend. And so that is where I am on that, my little bunny stitch marker, which I cannot remember where I got it from. But that is all I have on that sock. So just a cuff and a little bit of leg on both of my socks, but the sock mojo is coming back. We're getting there. As summer sock camp approaches and it gets warmer and warmer, we'll get more and more into socks, I'm sure. So let me clean up. I think this one's supposed to be in my dusting of frost socks. I'm going to put that back in there because I will not remember what row I'm on. There we go. If you clean up as you go, you don't have as much to tidy after the podcast, I've learned. Alrighty. So my next WIP is kind of an FO, but not an FO. So I am part of a podcasters community, I guess. And I don't think she's announced it, publicly yet. So I don't want to give any names or, spoil any surprises. So I have a podcaster community who the leader of that, the podcaster, is getting married, and she wants to have little knitted and crocheted hearts on the tables at her wedding. And so the community is hopping in and we're making hearts and sending them to her. So I have my first heart done, and this is the crocheted version. And then it has actually a really, really deep purple. But this was the only one that I had in DK to kind of get started. Crochet with double threads is a little bit more difficult for me. So I wanted to do a crochet in DK. This is the only one I had. I did pick up some yarn, you'll see, to make some of the knitted and in maybe another crochet. But this is the first heart. It is unstuffed because it needs to go overseas, and so I'm not going to stuff it. I'm gonna let her stuff it when it gets there so I can ship it in maybe some letter mail. But anyway, one heart is done and I plan to make at least 3. The maker of that, I do not know how to pronounce their name. It's an amigurumi heart. It's a free pattern. It is linked directly below to the blog. So if you are interested in making those little hearts, it takes about 8 grams of yarn. Look down below and you'll have it linked. All right, so the last WIP is my Haid style, which is my cross stitch. Heaven and Earth Designs Stitch Along. That is a year-long stitch along. And this is what this will look like when it is done. It is a full coverage project. And you will be surprised that I got quite a bit done, I think, in my opinion, in the past 2 weeks. I don't focus on this a whole lot. I'm just having a good time as I work on it. I know where this green stripe here is where some of that cabbage is going to start coming in a little bit brighter. And yeah, so I think probably down here you'll see the progress from last episode to this episode. And then as always, I show you the back of my work. It's getting a little crazy down there. And yeah, so continue to work on this. I know that I have some stitches in the wrong place as I have been working down the chart. I've run into a stitch and be like, that's not supposed to be there. So I just skip over it and continue. In the long scheme of things, I don't think it will matter too much, but yeah, I'm happy with my progress here. At the end of the month, so next week, we get the next 4 pages, and I'm definitely not keeping up with the actual stitch along. This is only my 3rd cross stitch project, so I'm not too worried. I haven't mentioned the stitch count or anything. Stitch count? Fabric count? Thread count? I don't know what it's called. I'm using 25 count easy grid fabric Ada. So that just means that inside of these 10 squares is 25 threads. I think. It might only be 10, but it might be 25 per inch. I don't know how that works. Anyway, it's 25 count fabric. And then I am using 3 threads over 1 half stitch. So I am only going over 1 cross. If I get pretty close there, maybe you can see. There we go. You can see that I'm only doing kind of half of the X of the cross stitch, and I'm using 3 threads to make that. So yeah, that's my cross stitch project. Okie dokie. So that is all of my works in progress. So now we're going to get into acquisitions, and I have one acquisition that is separate from the rest because I got it in the mail versus going to a fiber festival. Let's see if I can find her over here somewhere. Oh, I left her over there. So, Super Glow Fibers had a sale on all her in-stock items, and I have been wanting to try her Cash Fluff. So she had a couple of these in various colors. This is Half Moon Glow in her Cash Fluff, which is a lace weight yarn, 438 yards in 50 grams, 53% super baby alpaca, 34% silk, and 13% cashmere. So I wanted to give this a try, mostly because a lot of the hand-dyed yarns that I see is in this cashmere fluff, alpaca cashmere silk blend, or mohair. And I have tried mohair. I purchased one from a trunk show a couple years ago, and I tried to make like a little stuffed bunny, and it made my face itch. I think it was just the extra fibers. I don't think that I was overly sensitive to it, but I just did not enjoy working with it. It was not a fun process. I didn't enjoy the feel of it. It was itchy to me, and so I don't think I'm a mohair girly at all. I just don't think mohair is in the cards for me. But I know there's a lot of patterns that call for like mohair held with something, and while you can do it without the mohair, I don't know, sometimes I just want that fuzzy look. So I wanted to try out alpaca and see if alpaca is something that I can use. So far it is super duper soft. I love alpaca yarn. I actually have a bump of fabric, a quite large bump of fabric. I don't know. I have some fiber that I bought from SAF a couple years ago. That's just a roll of alpaca fiber to spin. It will probably never be spun. It's just so soft and squishy. It's comforting. So that's what this reminds me of. So anyway, I purchased this to give it a try to see if I am sensitive to it in any way. My plan for this, since I only got one skein of it, is that I'm going to make, I have the Sock Project by Summer Lee book, and in there she has Just Add Mohair, I think is what it's called, or Just Add Fluff, something like that. Anyway, I'm going to make a pair of socks for my sister, and probably myself as well, and try the mohair and just see if I'm able to work with it. Like I said, it is super soft to me compared to how mohair feels to me. This is amazing. And then that way I can do more of an alpaca based lace weight versus mohair. Hopefully all that made sense. But anyway, I bought this on her sale to put together with maybe a undyed skein or something like that, just to see how it works. The rest of the acquisitions are in this bag. It may rattle a little bit. Do my best not to rattle. But I went to the North Carolina Fiber Fest, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, every March. And I went with my mom, my sister, and my niece. Of that, only me and my niece actually knit or crochet, but my mom always loves going there. I swear she spends more money than I do. And then my sister had never been before, so it was fun to bring her along and show her the festivities. But I said I wasn't going to buy too much yarn, and I think I did pretty good. I think I did pretty good. I didn't overdo anything. Well, maybe one thing. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this. So this is from String Theory Colorworks, which is, my niece was very excited to go to them because they had mystery packs of stitch markers the last time we went last year, and she loves a good mystery. And so we were looking for those mystery packs, and they only had this big box of mystery packs. So we splurged a little. We decided to treat ourselves and just have some fun that day. So in here, I'm not going to show you everything because it would take quite a while, but in here they make these 3D printed boxes. This is one of the little boxes, and how they work is it slides with a magnetic closure. And then inside I have some buttons that I'm going to show you in a moment. But this came in the pack, so it was a mystery of that as well. And then there are 14, yes, there are 14 sets similar to this. So this one has a pineapple. It has 1 or 2 like crab claw or earring closure, and then at least 4 closed ring. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the sets, but there are 14 in total, just mystery, just some mystery stitch markers that me and my niece will share. We'll put them in our little little notions boxes and things like that. So that one has a little poodle in it. Anyway, lots of those inside of here that now I will organize and add all together. So that was from String Theory, and then I also from String Theory picked up a skein of yarn, Continuum, which is the 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. So this is their cashmere base. They have lots of different finger weight, DK, and worsted weight bases, and all, I'm not going to say all because I think they had mini skeins to like go with it, but they are self-striping. All of the yarns are self-striping. Here is the colorway name. My sister could say it. She said it was a patch for motion sickness. So there's that. And then it actually gives you the information on how the rows will stripe in a 64 stitch, I think. Yeah, it'll depend varying gauge. Why won't you focus? There we go. So yeah, I picked up this. They always give a little stitch marker. They're a very stitch marker heavy company as well. But yeah, I picked up this. I think it's fingering weight. 430 yards. So yes, I have another one on a different base. I think they're 85-25 up there as well, but that I got last year. But this one just kind of spoke a little bit Halloween-y to me, and I don't know, it looked fun. I couldn't resist. Let's see. Also from them, I picked up some stickers for me and my niece. So from them, we got the same sticker, a little chicken that's knitting. So me and her got the same sticker there. And then I'll go ahead and show you. Camp Stitchwood was another booth there. And I got this sticker, a chicken that laid an egg. I think this is their yarn chicken icon. The way that the Camp Stitchwood works is that they do merit badges, like from Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, that type of thing. And they have different ways that you can do it. Like this time they had a water bottle, and then on it had little circles that you could put these stickers. They had stickers that fit into those circles that you could add your own merits. They're all knitting, crochet, spinning related merits. They have a bag that you can add the merit badges to in that little circle. They had the big stickers of like the little icons on it. I think they had badges. I think they have some enamel pins, just different stuff, but all kind of related to merits that you get inside of knitting, crochet, and spinning. So they had a mystery bag, and I already told you I love a good mystery bag, so I bought 2 of them. And so these are, they said they were like seconds, so may have some printing issues. This one particularly looks like it's a little off center, but not a big deal for me. Sorry, gonna make a little bit of noise. So this one is, if it'll focus, Brioche Bravery. It's like, no, I don't want to focus on that today. There we go. Brioche Bravery, which I have not earned. I have not done any brioche yet. Yarnaholic. I can claim that merit. This one is Sports Knitter, and I am unsure if this means that you knit as a sport, which I could claim, or if you knit at sporting events, which I could also claim. So I claim that one. We have the merit of Swatch Skipper, and I am indeed a swatch skipper, unless I'm testing. We have 2 sock related ones, which I thought was perfect. This one is Team Toe Up, which I have done, but it is not my team. And then this one is Team Top Down, which is my team. So I picked up those from the Camp Stitchwood. Just fun little bits there. I'm gonna close up my Notions box. All right, what else do we have in here? These are not in order that I bought them. They're just in order of how I'm picking them up out of here. I got these from Fangirl Fibers. My niece saw them and we were looking for everything chickens. So we got some stitch stoppers, which are little chickens. That was everything I got from Fangirl Fibers. I told you I was looking for plum purpley colors for those hearts. So Beach Bunny Yarns had this colorway here in eggplant, but the colorway actually matched very close to the example of the wedding colors that she sent to us. So I picked up that mini from Beach Bunny Yarns. And then we have the Fiber Seed. And the yarn that I did the little purple heart from, lost on my bed somewhere, was the Aubergine colorway from Fiber Seed. And then I went to their stall and got this one, which is actually called Plum, which is the color from the wedding. So I picked up this one to make another maybe crochet one. We'll see. They're just contenders in the colorway choosing. And then I found this at the Fiber Seed, which is on her Sprout sock. It is called Jitter Glitter. And her sock base is actually more of a sport weight. It says sock fingering, but the weight is a weight too. So always just a little bit thicker. But I love making socks out of her yarn. So yeah, just picked up this one. It was bright and happy and called to me. So grabbed it. And then the last yarns that I got is from Granite Mountain Fiber Co. And if you watched my SAF vlog, no, it was the North Carolina Fiber Fest from last year. I picked up this yarn from them last year, this exact colorway, which is called Blaze. And this is the colorway that my friend Lisa, she needed this colorway to finish her dragon, her crochet dragon. And we were at her house and she was talking about what colors she should add to the dragon to make it pop and, you know, all that. So I was like, I have the color you need. Like, I have the exact color you need. And we traded a similar color. But I missed it. So I knew that if they were at the Fiber Fest, that if they had this colorway, I would pick it up again, because it's just a beautiful colorway. So I did pick up the colorway Blaze again, and this is in their Fingering Colebrook base, which is 75/25. And then they also had this colorway, which is Onyx, which I always love a good black yarn. So I picked up both of these to make something together, make something separate, make something for my nephew in this. Who knows? But yeah, so that was the last yarns that I picked up there. So yeah, all in all, I have 2, 3, 4 skeins of yarn from the Fiber Fest, 2 minis to make hearts for a wedding, And then the rest are just notions, like the stickers and the stitch stoppers and all of that. So I think I did pretty good. What do you guys think? So yeah, leading into that is today is the 23rd of March. And I will be updating you for the first quarter on how my grams in, grams out, skeins in, skeins out is going. Did I like make maybe a quick preview, and depending on if I get some socks done in this coming week, I may be a little bit closer, but we're definitely more in than out at the moment. But I kind of expected that, mostly because I knew I was going to be getting in my chaperone colorways that I got in the last episode, and I knew I was going to the Fiber Fest. So I knew March was going to be the month that was going to put me over. So not stressed about it. It's a goal. It is not a requirement. So not too worried about that. But yeah, I will give you guys stats in the next episode for how I finished out in the first quarter, for all of that fun number spreadsheety stuff. But yeah, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It puts a smile on my face, and we are really close to 500. So please consider subscribing. And if you haven't already, give us a like. That way YouTube knows that you enjoyed this video, and give me a comment. Just let me know how you're doing. Just in general, how are you doing? What you working on? What project are you working on? And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.